a regular thing. Came for the ring, you know what I mean. I shoot my shot and it's clean. This for my city, yeah, this for my team. If you talking, it's how to be nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, champion. I'm a team. If you talking, it's how to be nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, champion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to YSN Live for this 10th of February. Boy, this month is flying, pal. It is.
It's the shortest
the 10th
month of the year, too.
I guess when you get, listen, hopefully it slows down a little bit for all the guys out there because it's Valentine's Day. So give yourself some time. Here's your warning. Get out there, get those chocolates, the flowers, all that good stuff. Unless your wife gets really upset like mine whenever you buy stuff because it's technically her money too, and she doesn't buy herself flowers or candy.
Yeah, they can't make your Valentine presents.
Be careful. Yeah, I know. Z and I were doing Valentine's this weekend, and I'm like, I should probably pull one of these for my wife. Just try to. I'll get yelled at for that too. But what a weekend it was! A lot of games on the network. From a basketball perspective, we had a lot. We had college games. We had high school games. We had a 6th grade game at halftime yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah, it was a big game. Didn't go my way this time, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Oh, we're gonna be like that. We're gonna be like that.
Can you be mad about making 3 Super Bowls in a row? I mean,
there's a lot of people that were mad that they made 3 Super Bowls in a row.
If you're a fan of the team, I get it.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about the Super Bowl, but we've got some way more important stuff to talk about and way more important people to talk to. Ladies and gentlemen, over the weekend, we had a maybe one of the bigger upsets we've seen all year. Ant, would you characterize that?
Yeah, I think this might be the biggest upset we've seen all year in the sense of the way that Crestview beat LeBray. That's the one we're talking about on the boys' side. LeBray coming into Crestview with an undefeated conference record. The first time these two teams played in LeBray, it was all Vikings, and that was back when the Vikings weren't even like that healthy yet. They were still kind of trying to get Austin Rowe back and healthy. So this was a healthy Vikings team coming in high and flying to the Rebels Gymnasium, and Crestview turned the tables and won a gritty performance by 4 points. I think it was 66-62. Forgive me if that final number is not exactly correct, but what a win for Crestview to kind of take the underdog mentality and buy into it and shock the MVAC leaders.
You and I have talked about this before. Vikings. It's been high school is way more influential when it comes to coaching, right? Coaches can control kind of what happens. They can influence the way games go. And the Rebels, under new leadership this year of Lou Mateo, have done an incredible job. Now, you're going to look at their record and you're going to say, okay, wait, pump the brakes a little bit. But keep in mind that it takes a little bit of time to get buy-in. It takes a little bit of time to get your things implemented into an offense, into a defense, into a program. And we're going to talk to the head ball coach here in moments. But I can tell you this, there are a lot of people that are really jazzed up about Coach Mateo, his staff, the program, what he brings to the table, the history, the tradition, all of that stuff, everything. And the thing that I love about coaches, and we've talked about this numerous times, and almost every coach we talk to, is where does it start? And for Coach Mateo, I believe it is very foundational. As much as he can get, as young as he can get, getting them to buy into the Rebel basketball program, which when I went to school was their number one. They were good in football, yes, but it was a basketball program. They were expected to win every time they took the floor. And I believe that this man that we're bringing on right now is a guy that has those same expectations, has those Struthers roots. And ladies and gentlemen, we invite and welcome in Lou Mateo, the head ball coach of the Crestview Rebel basketball team. Coach, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate what you guys do and what you guys bring to sports and athletics. It means a lot to all of us.
We appreciate you, sir. I mean, to walk into and we kind of talked a little bit off the record before the show, to walk into a Crestview program that when you walk into their hallways before you get to the gym, it is just littered with gold and hoopers and broken records and record holders. it can be intimidating at times. When you walked in there the first time, what did you think and what were your expectations and how did that first meeting go?
The first meeting there was, like I said, very welcoming. We talked, off record about everyone being very welcoming. But going into there, when I walked into the gym, it was very nostalgic. It kind of reminded me of like something like the field house at Struthers, not quite as big and things like that, but it was very like I like that old school mentality that in the way they carry themselves. And to go through the hallways was very, very intriguing, knowing that there's roots there still. There's still a lot of athletes. I have a young man on my basketball team right now as a sophomore. His dad was part of that district title team 25 years ago, which we just honored them recently. And it wasn't so much intimidating. It was more intriguing and was more exciting knowing that there's still people in the community and still people in the schools that are coming from those backgrounds and those roots.
When the job opened, Coach, what were some things that kind of drew you to wanting to, apply for that Crestview job and then take it when you got it? What were some things that drew you to the Crestview Red Bulls program?
I didn't honestly. It was funny you say that. I saw a post from Mr. Casey Boger, the AD there. He's a new AD there, coming from Cheney. He had posted it online, and when I saw it, I knew a couple young men that went to Crestview, and I had played some semi-pro football with one of the guys that was on staff there, Troy Dewey. And when I saw a post, it was kind of exciting because I know a lot of Crestview people and how hard they work. And so it was just, and for me, it was another challenge that I like to have. I challenge myself every day in everyday life, and then obviously I want to help programs, and I saw they have some pieces there. And again, I've talked to enough people from Crestview to know that they're going to be very supportive. And that was huge for me to go into that, especially not being from the community, not being from Columbiana and Columbiana County. It was new, exciting. And I thought I could bring something to them and help them kind of raise above where they've been.
You certainly have. I mean, it was evident the first time I walked in and got to see you guys in person. Obviously, we get to watch a lot of film on you, but it's never the same on film as it is in that gymnasium, especially the one that you play in and call home. You talked about your staff and kind of bringing that infusion of Struthers with you. And I told you, when you talk about basketball in this area, if you're not talking about Struthers, you're missing out. And I think Crestview understood that. And they wanted that gritty determination, that hard-nosed basketball that you see in the field house year in and year out. For you, when you walked in and you saw, you walked in and you saw all these Crestview players, you got a bunch of athletes. Not many are necessarily just basketball players. Correct. How do you make them into basketball players from that football? Because Crestview is a smaller school.
They are. And it's nice because me and Coach Dom have kind of figured some things out together, understand that the weight room is very important. Off season is very important. And it was nice to get a couple athletes that play football to play basketball, because I'm also a football coach as well, coach for years at Struthers High School. And being a football guy, you can translate on the basketball court because of physicality. And like, again, that grit, that toughness, that determination. I think football is a huge key implement to help with basketball, and they kind of work hand in hand, because basketball also helps those athletes stay in shape, number one, but two, just keep competing throughout the year, which is what we try to instill in our young men.
And, we all talk about trying to instill the culture that you want, and sometimes it can take some time. Talk about going through the preseason and then going through the first couple of weeks of this season and what it took to instill that culture and get these kids to buy into what you were kind of selling as the head coach of this program. And now we've seen they absolutely bought into it now.
It's more of a trust thing. They had to trust me, not coming in, again, not knowing them, not knowing me, not having too many ties there at all, pretty much. It was a little struggle in the beginning just because they didn't know us. So they only knew one way of doing things. And the way we brought things in was a lot of principles and a lot of just fundamentals. And they were shocked at how many fundamental drills we bring into practice and how hard we wanted them to work every day. They just said they haven't had that in years past, and that's not for anybody's fault. Just maybe some people just didn't do it, or the kids didn't buy in even then. But now I think they started to trust us a little bit, and it just kind of understand what we're about, because it's a consistency thing. It's not just from players, but from coaches. We have to be consistent as coaches to help these young men to be consistent. And if we're not consistent and drilling it into them, then why should they buy in? So I think it took some time for them to understand that, and the trust to start to build throughout the year, which is it's perfect leading up to the tournament, the way we're playing basketball.
Yeah, and a perfect segue into my next question. The way you're playing basketball, it seems like you guys are getting stronger as the season grows longer. when you have a win like you did the other night against LeBray, and when you have some of the wins and signature wins, quite honestly, that you do on your slate right now on your resume, we know that the pool was yesterday.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to necessarily look at it, but I mean, how much of this now is it doesn't matter who's playing against us? They're just nameless gray faces. And how much do you have to get up for a game against a team that's undefeated in your conference?
For us, it just boils down to just taking care of us. I mean, every team we play on our schedule is always going to be a battle. It's going to be tough, and it should be. That's just high school sports. That's sports in general, competitive nature. And for us, we just have to take care of us fundamentally. And the biggest thing we talk about is not turning the ball over. We set goals every game, every day of practice. We set goals. But for games, there's goals set in place that if you can do these things, I can promise you'll be in a game and you'll have an opportunity to win that game. If you don't take care of those goals, or if you don't meet those goals, we're going to struggle a little bit. And that's kind of what happened in the beginning of the year for the most part. And we've started to correct a lot of those mistakes. And again, the fundamentals are there. The principles are there about being physical at all points in time and taking on physicality as well, because some of the teams we play, they're pretty physical. And I love it. That's enticing to me. I love physicality because, again, being a football guy coming into basketball also, I like that, the way we play in our league as well.
You know, Coach, looking at your roster, you don't have that one guy that's averaging 15, 20 points a game, but you have 4 guys that are averaging more than 6 points a game. What's it like to have, you know, such a balanced offense and such a group of guys that they've played together for so long, they trust each other, and they really work together so well? What's it like to coach a roster like that?
It's phenomenal because now you can't just focus on one player. You know, some teams that I've watched in years past would have 1 or 2 guys. And we have 3 or 4 guys that could really put it in the hoop. And they play together because they're starting to communicate even on defense. That's my biggest thing is communication, and it has to be effective in positive communication. Like whether it's calling out screens, getting over top of the screen, switching things like that. That's a huge thing for those young men, and I think that's why they've been so well and so balanced, because all those guys are buying in. They have bought into each other and the team itself. It's just not always about coaches. It is about players. It is about characters, because, you know, young men are dealing with school and things at home and whatever they're doing in their lives. So it is about them communicating with one another. And I think that shows, and it's very imminent, especially from our senior class and leadership that we have out of our seniors.
Okay, Coach, we talked about the Struthers roots, and
Yep.
You know, obviously you have your own coaching style that you've built over the years. Who are some of the influences or influencers that you've brought in your coaching style? You've kind of taken a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and you've injected it into your own coaching style to be the head best basketball coach of the Rebels.
You know, coming from with Coach Wernicke, great man, great basketball mind. He's taught me a lot. And, you know, honestly, the old school Coach Fioline stuff, as we have a lot here, because one of the young men that started for him and played for him as a freshman all the way throughout his senior year, I brought on, and he's been very, very integral to what we do here, and brought that Struthers mentality as well, was Mike Culinary, my varsity assistant. I honestly couldn't do a whole lot without him. You need great assistants, great programs, and great, you know, if anybody's going to continue to be great or be good at all, you have to understand that you have to have good assistants and people around you and around your young men. So those two men, Coach Fioline's offense and defense, and his mentality, his principles are here as well. But Coach Wernicke has been very, he's been very instrumental as to what I've done. I also have another gentleman, he's younger than me, but he coaches very hard, very well, is very, very smart, is one of my best friends, Jim Francischelli. He's the head coach at McDonald, and I've learned a lot from him as well, because everything is just like, you know, you talk about copycat leagues in the NFL and things like that. A lot of basketball's copycat stuff as well. So it's awesome to have that, and also have another young man that coaches with us on our staff, Austin McCullough. He graduated a few years ago from Struthers. He played for Coach Wernicke. So I'm bringing that Struthers grit with that my guys on staff know what we expect, and we are getting the best out of our young men.
Yeah, talk about that Struthers great. You're getting some love from Nancy Knight, the AD over at Struthers in the comment section.
I love her. She's awesome. She's awesome.
The GOAT.
Coach, the GOAT. Coach, we got you on after this LeBray win. I want to talk a little bit about the specifics of this game, the mindset going into it, what kind of the game plan was, what worked so well. Talk about the flow of this game, what kind of a big win is for your program, and what you think the keys to victory were that night against LeBray.
Game plan was, again, not to turn the ball over. We talked about not having under double-digit turnovers and to try to keep them under 50 and under, which is very tough for a program like that because they're very well coached. Their coaches does a phenomenal job. He really does. They're physical. They're athletic. They obviously have the 1,000-point scorer on there. They just got Rowe back. He's back healthy, shooting the ball. The biggest thing was trying to force them to shoot perimeter shots as much as we could, try to keep it out of the paint. They got their inside big guy did have 18 points. He just out rebounded us, out physical us for a little bit. But some of the mentality was coming out as I kind of brought up about the Super Bowl. It was the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously, against the Chiefs. Now, the Philly mentality was back then was I asked all the kids, have you ever saw the movie Rocky? I consider them the Russian. They're undefeated in the league. We're kind of bottom of the barrel right now in our league, and we have to come out with that Rocky mentality and play that underdog role. Because in a fight, everybody wants to fight until you get hit in the mouth. Now we have to take a punch and be able to give one back. And I think our kids handled that very well. I think they were very excited, and we played that that underdog role very well. Now the biggest thing for the keys of the game essentially was to do that exterior shots. That if they beat us out there, it just wasn't our night. Essentially, try to avoid as much penetration in the middle because that's what happened to us the first game. They penetrated on us, and we were in trouble there. So we fixed a lot of our inadequacies from defense, and I think that helped us immensely. And the other thing was a lot of kids hit some big shots. I had a young man that came off the bench, hasn't started all year. I started him this game. Number 20 is a senior, Hayden Patrone, and he hit 3 big threes for us in that game. And I was very excited for that young man.
All right. So we know that Crestvew's gone through, a list of coaches in the recent past. And obviously there's a lot of trust issues when a program goes through so much turnover. For you, what have you told the families, not just the ones that are playing for you right now, but we all know that there is a giant black and gold wave coming up of athletes, both in the girls' side and the boys' side, that are excelling at the lower levels. What have you talked to those families about in trying to build that trust with them to keep them not only excited about the program, but invested in the program?
Biggest thing is just we want to be here. We want to be consistent. We want to be a long stay here. There's as a staff, as a program, and just understand that for them to trust us, they have to know us, and they have to know us as people. So that was one of the biggest things. My first interview there was talking about me getting to know the communities and the community members and the not just the fans but the families, because a lot of places that you go to have broken families, whether it's families that are either divorced or separated or whatever. And so I have to get through all of them, not just the ones that are just sitting at home with them and taking care of them, as well the other people that are outside there to help, whether it's aunts, uncles, whoever, because they have families there as well. But the biggest thing for us was obviously just building a culture and showing them that we're not just about basketball, we're about life. Because I think after this game of basketball, it goes on to into life. And that was our biggest culture change that we wanted to do, or things we wanted to bring from Struthers, that guess what? We're going to have basketball here. We're going to be tough. We're going to be competitive, but we want our young men to be competitive in life outside of basketball. That's in the classroom. That's in your job, in your everyday life. And the biggest thing for us was you can't give up on one another, because we never want you to give up on your family, because someday you're going to be a husband. You're obviously a son, you're going to be a father, and we want you to always fight for your family. And that's the same thing we're doing with basketball. We're trying to fight for one another.
Coach, we've been talking about how much your players have grown and learned this season and how much they've come together. What about you as a coach? What do you think this season has taught you as a coach? What do you think you've taken away and learned and grown from this year coaching the Rebels?
I guess it's one of those things I've learned this year is don't expect things to be done the same everywhere. And I know it's not a knock on anything here, because I think the coaches in the years past have done a great job as well. I just think that there's certain things that you bring and you think it's an everyday drill that people never did. So my whole thing was never just assume things are right or assume things are the way they are. Sometimes you have to they have to do it from the ground up. And so we're building this program from the ground up for us, because it's our principles, it's our, as Struthers, grit coming to Crestview. And I think the two communities together, essentially, and I say communities because it's us coaches there, with me, Coach Culinary, and Coach McCullough coming there, is really bringing that nice, I guess I would say, competitive balance for them. And also the young men we have at Crestview, I swear, they work so hard. And so now all we got to do is just keep off of that, the hard work, determination. We brought that grit for them, whether it was mentally or physically. And I think those two together is really what I've learned, is that don't ever assume anything is done the same way everywhere. But now we're doing it here, and it's gonna stay here for as long as I can be here. And I want to be here for the rest of my life.
Coach, last question for me. I gotta imagine you feel the same way this time of year. It is a magical time of year when it comes to the playoffs, the tournament, everything that happened can be erased. You guys are playing your best ball right now. What do you expect from your team moving forward from this point forward, and what can fans expect from the Crestview Rebels this year in the 2025 tourney?
Well, I expect us to stay hungry. Because, once you have a big win like that in the league and against a very, very good team, sometimes you can have a letdown or a trap game or things like that. We have to stay on point, and our whole thing is laser focus. We must be laser focused on every task at hand, whether it's every set we run, every time up and down the floor, both ends of the floor. We want to be focused so that we don't want to have any letdowns, especially this time of the year, which is great for us. Like I said, the past 4 and 5 games, we've been very competitive throughout with every team we've been playing, and that's helped us. And I think we're growing at the right time. We're getting tough at the right time. We're being consistent at the right time, leading in the tournament. That's huge for us.
Coach, my last thing for you is just letting you give a shout out to the community and the fans that have supported you all year, and how much it's meant to this team and how much it's helped your team kind of do what they've been able to do.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone in Crestview and everything they've done and the support that they've showed for our young men, not just for us as coaches, but for the young men, because that's what it's all about. It really is. It's about the high school kids, the kids that compete every day. I appreciate every one of them. A lot of them have multiple children in our program, so we want to continue to keep that growing. And I really appreciate everybody from Crestview that has been supportive for us and can continue to support us as well. I really appreciate you, and go Rebels.
Coach, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking some time. We know it's valuable this time of year, especially and talking to us. Huge fans of you. I'm ready to run through a wall for you right now. Some of the stuff you said. So appreciate the motivation, and best of luck in the tourney, Coach.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate what you guys do for us. Thank you so much.
You got it, Coach. Thank you very much. Lou Mateo. Oh my gosh, Ant. I am ready to go. Some of the things, he's talking about Rocky. He's making LeBray, Drago. Like, how cool is that? If I've got a coach at 17, 18 years old, and I'm in a locker room, and they're like, have you ever seen Rocky? Guess what, kid? That's you. And they're Drago. Go get them. And then you win that game. Mm-hmm. Like, you must feel like you're the American champion. Like, you are the greatest American patriot of all time. Like, you brought it home. And I mean, the comments in our chat after we saw, Tony did a great job of broadcasting it, and then put it up there and says, hey, this is real. And there was a lot of eyeballs and eyebrows raised. But I guess you and I just discovered the source, because that dude is a power generator. Holy cow.
Wow. when you can make your team believe that they can beat a team that's undefeated in the conference, that beat them by 30 plus points the last time, when you still make them believe they can go out there and then get a win. That's step one. Step two is go out and execute the game plan, which Crestview and the players did phenomenally. But to just make them have that sense of belief that we have a chance in this game. We're not the bottom of the barrel. We're not going to be disrespected. This is our gym, our place, our home. They're not going to come in here and take this away from us. And then go out there and do it. That's coaching. It's coaching 101. That's that Struthers grit that he's talking about. Because it would have been easy for a team to say, well, let's just get through this. They beat us by 30 last time. Let's just get through it. But that's not the Crestview mentality this year at all.
And we appreciate the vacuums going in the background here at Athletics, because, it
Welcome
is what
to
it
live
is.
Streaming, right?
There's like a 6-foot strip of carpet that they have to vacuum. God bless them. I love that they're working hard. But I apologize to Coach Mateo. I had to close the door, and I'm like, that didn't do anything. It's a glass. I live in a fishbowl here, so it did nothing. One of the things that I was really impressed with was, number one, the influence of Struthers basketball into this Crestview, program. Because here's the thing, and the thing that most people don't realize, and I think Coach Mateo does, he alluded to it a couple times, and I think Struthers does, and I know Crestview does now from his answers, is that there can be walls that are built that you're keeping culture from a certain program out. Like, this is the way we do things. This is the way we'll always do things. And I think there's a new generation of Crestview, and I think it starts at the top. Dan Hill, great friend of mine, the program. I had him when I was in middle school at East Palestine. He understands that there needs to be a resurgence of grit, determination, making kids tough, making kids understand that you're going to get what you work for. And I got to be honest with Coach Mateo, it's in droves. It is just levels. And I don't think that Crestview has hit their best yet. I don't believe that he believes they've hit their best yet, but they're moving in that right direction. That win over LeBray, check the box. All right, now we can do it, guys. Now there's your buy-in. Incredible. And to get the blessing of a Nancy Knight, who is a Struthers legend, and that isn't even a, I'm not even doing her a justice to what she's been able to do in Struthers, for those programs out there, what she's meant to us at YSN, naturally, for her blessing to say, hey, I'm proud of you, Coach Mateo. That goes incredibly. I mean, that is so cool to see, because a lot of times if you leave a community, they're mad at you. Or if you go into another community, they're mad at you. And for a lot of these coaches, it's a no-win situation. So congratulations, Coach Mateo and his staff and the communities of Struthers and Crestview for doing this, because it's not always that easy. It's well done, though.
I want to give a shout out too to the seniors of Crestview. If the seniors don't buy in, then no one's going to buy in. And guys like English and Best, and you've seen them. They bought into Coach Mateo probably first. And when they did it, everyone else followed suit. But if the leaders and the seniors that have been there for so long don't buy in first and kind of show the younger players, like, this is what we're doing, we're going to buy into this coach, it probably doesn't happen. And they are led by really good senior leaders that kind of bought into the philosophy and the culture that Coach Mateo was bringing.
Well, you and I have seen this before, Ian. This is a story we've read many, many times before. And a lot of times coaches will come in their first year and they will try to win over the seniors, and they'll get the ones that they can, and the ones that they can't, they don't care. They just move on to the juniors, the sophomores, and the freshmen, because that's the next wave. That's who you're building your program with. But the issue is you kind of lose the locker room when you do that, because you're leaving people behind. I think that Coach Mateo, and I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, I think that he's sitting there saying, we're burning the boats. Like, we're going one way,
burn the ships, yep.
and we're not coming back. We're going to win, and it's going to take time on the journey to get there. But the destination, I really do believe, is a very successful Crestview program. And Anthony, we're seeing the beginning stages of it. And again, I'm so impressed with what I told you when I went to that game a few weeks ago, I was incredibly impressed with what he was able to do on that floor. And now, to beat a LeBray team, I don't think people realize, and this is no slight to LeBray, this is actually put him on that pedestal.
Right.
They are a factor. They are a factor.
Coach Kaiser does a tremendous job with that program. And he's been doing a tremendous job with that program for a long time. They've been to state semifinals. They've been to the highest mountaintops, because that's how good their program is. And, they came in a little bit healthier than they came in the first matchup. That's what makes it even a bigger daunting task, because the first matchup they were trying to get healthy. Austin Rowe was trying to get healthy. They come in with Austin Rowe back. He's the high flying shooter. They have everyone kind of on their roster that they want. Crestview says, I don't care. I don't matter. It don't matter to me. Bring whoever you want. Bring Goliath. I'll take him down.
So let me ask you this question. After speaking with him, do you think that people that are in Crestview's bracket are looking at Crestview differently?
I don't know how much they're paying attention, because now you're not voting on the team, so you don't really have to try to dig deep and research about all the teams in your bracket, but they should be, because if you can beat LeBray, who's one of the top teams in that division, who can't you beat? I think any given day, Crestview has the people to go out there and win. And one of the things that I brought up was they have 4 guys that are scoring. Like, that's hard to defend. 4 guys that have more than 6 points per game. They don't have that one superstar that you can circle and say, we got to shut this kid down. They have, and 2 of those guys are above 9 points per game, and then one of them's above 8. Then one of them has 6.5. So you got multiple people that you have to kind of game plan for. That's always going to make you tough to defend.
Well, and the other part of that, and a lot of people are going to sit there and go, okay, great. They're, 9, 8, 7 point, but Crestview is a defense first. And I think that's part of the grit that Coach Mateo talks about, right? That's, they might not be putting up 45, points a game per player, but they're also not going to let you score at will. So that's been the biggest thing. And, to change, because Crestview for a long time was offense first. It was, we're just going to outscore you. And then this year it's, we're D'ing up and we're going to beat you with defense. We're going to make it hard. You look at teams like East Palestine with Tristan Reynolds, defense first. And, other teams, small teams, they're going to beat you with their athletes. It's usually going to be defense first, because unless you have a shooter, a Luke Rowan, you look at what they had over in Girard, Dom Phillips, if you don't have that, you can't push that. Right. So you got to, the 5 is always better than the 1. The fist is always better than the finger, so to speak. So it's one of those things where you've got to be able to get creative as a coach. I think Coach Mateo has done that. I think he's doing that progressively. I think he has some great influencers that have forged him along the way. And, man, Crestview is in good hands, Anthony. I'm so proud, so happy we got him. Thanks again to Coach Mateo for stopping by. He's always welcome on this show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got to talk about a certain Super Bowl that happened yesterday. We're going to talk about commercials, because I thought the commercials were pretty doggone good. Yeah. We're going to talk about the halftime show, because that's what everybody's talking about right now. I didn't mind it. A lot of people did. We're going to get Anthony's take when we come back right here on YSN Live.
Sheely's is more than a furniture store. We're a hub for all of your appliance needs. We offer the widest selection at everyday low prices, with over $1 million of in-stock inventory from Whirlpool, KitchenAid, LG, GE, and more. Our knowledgeable, no-pressure sales staff can help you find the perfect appliances for your home. We're there for you beyond your purchase to service what we sell and offer free local delivery with 24-month special financing. Sheely's, the best things in life happen at home.
House troubles can attack anytime. When trouble strikes, call Mighty Mike. Your hometown hero is on his way. HVAC causing havoc? Has your furnace gone mad? Mighty Mike Heating and Cooling will save the day. Commercial or residential, 24/7. For quality service you can depend on, call your hometown hero. Call Mighty Mike.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa.
And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing.
Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships.
We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team.
Your goals, our game plan.
Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
All right, welcome back to YSN Live. A little irony as we got to get our ads changed moving forward. We saw some great advertisements last night, Anthony, during the football game. I mean, there were a lot of them. And I guess at $8 million a pop, I'd try to sell as many as I possibly could as well. What ads? I mean, if you have 4 or 5 of them that stand out in no order, I guess, at this point, because I'm kind of springing this on you. What were your favorite ads? What was the worst ad?
You know, the one I remember the most was the Pringles one where mustaches kept flying off of people's faces. And people like, you know, they had Andrew Eaton, and then they had Harden from basketball, and then the end where the guy from Parks and Rec is sitting there with his mustache. I like it. I thought that was really funny. That was the one I remember the most. The one that I was kind of like, it didn't land, was the cowboy hat flesh. That was this kind of, it didn't look
The
right.
Tubi
It,
commercial.
it looked kind of disturbing to me. And they played it twice. So I was like, ooh. So that was kind of the one that I think really didn't land for me. So those are my best and worst.
Okay. So I'm a softie when it comes to, the commercials. There was a one from Toyota, which, by the way, Toyota Warren sponsoring this segment of YSN Live. There was one from Toyota a couple years ago, if you remember, with an Olympic young lady who was adopted. And if you know kind of what's going on in
Right.
the Oakley house, that hit a little close to home. So we love that commercial. So last night, usually when it's about a kid, I'm in. And there was the one about cancer that I was,
with the boxing,
there was Mama Said Knock You Out kind of deal, I think. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then immediately it just turned right to an emotional one where if you're a parent out there and it's something happens to your child, no matter what it is, if it's cancer or otherwise, you just want it to be okay. And to have that hug and that raw emotion, it was incredible to me. That one was good. There was a couple other ones with kids involved that, just hit home, hit different than it would have 10 years ago for me. The winner for me was, Bud Light. The only thing I could think of is if I was in a cul-de-sac with Peyton Manning and Shane Gillis, who else was in there? Post Malone. And just, I pictured myself living there. In fact, I texted a couple people that, at some point when we move, I'm like, hey, this is what our neighborhood's going to be like. This is what it's going to be like. The cul-de-sac is hopping or banging or whatever he said it was. And then on top of that, at the end of the game, nobody stayed around, I don't think, to see it. But like Shane Gillis made in the commercial, the tractor with the Bud Light on it. I don't know if you caught that. Peyton had that tractor pulling it out for Eagles fans. There was just Bud Light on the and this, I know this is a commercial for Bud Light. But like I thought that was a great and one. And there was a couple and ones last night. If you saw the who was it? The Country Roads commercial. Was it Mortgage? So it started on the commercial, and then they tried their damnedest to push it in that stadium, but it's not like an international feel. So like if they did that in Ireland or Mexico, for some reason people are attracted to that song and singing it because they think of the NFL and the United States. Big thing, big marketing that NFL has done. They tried it in the Super Bowl last night and nobody was singing.
No one was singing that song. I think they pumped in the crowd singing it just to make it sound like it did. One of the ones I also liked, and I've never been a huge fan of Matthew McConaughey, but his commercial was actually pretty funny with Kevin Bacon. Everyone loves Bacon. That was a pretty good one. I'll give him that. I think we're starting to see commercials have like trailers for their own commercials. Like we saw one at the beginning of the Super Bowl to say, stick around after halftime. It was like a trailer for their commercial, which I think is kind of weird and new.
Gosh.
The
flag football one. We're going to talk about this at some point because you're the perfect person to talk to, because the girls' revolution, which I get and we have been 100% supportive of that, but it's overkill at this point, is it not?
I liked the one. I liked the Nike spent their time on the one commercial that was solely for women's sports. That's cool. But I think the flag football, like we're trying to sell it too much. And I remember last week, Scotty kind of tried to bring up like, when are we going to see a female kicker in the NFL, and when we're going to see a female pitcher in the MLB? And I was like, I just want to see support of actual women's sports. I don't care about a woman going into the male sports and being the first NFL kicker or the first female pitcher in the MLB. I care more about like, let's just stick to our thing and try to get softball more coverage and women's basketball more coverage and et cetera, et cetera. That's why I like the Nike commercial a lot better than the flag football kind of trying to push that thing.
Well, the coolest part, one of the coolest parts of the night for me, I posted out on social media that Super Bowls look a lot different nowadays. Usually it was a party and hanging out and drinking and all that stuff. And then now I'm sitting there with my wife and my daughter. Z was watching Ninja Turtles. He had no interest in this game at all, except when he woke up and he was excited the Eagles won for some reason. I don't know why. But my daughter has seemingly, it's been moments on Sundays that she's invested because it's time with daddy, right? That's Sundays. If you don't know, Sundays are like my day to slow down a little bit, do a story here or there, try and play catch up and try to get ready for the week. I think it's always been like that for me, you know, from my standpoint. My family's always, you know, that Sunday as, you know, family time. And, you know, to see it now, it's different. And seeing that commercial and seeing my daughter watch that commercial and seeing it kind of through her eyes. I mean, she's 3. She doesn't know who all those people were, all those women were. But my wife made the comment of, you know, one day that's going to be Bella. And that's when I got a little bit emotional. That's when, like, I like the string pulls that they do. And it's different now because every football player on TV, well, that could be my son. You know, and for better or for worse, I'm the guy that says not every kid goes to the NFL. I get it, but there's dreams, and he likes football a lot. He likes baseball a lot, and right now he likes whatever he's playing. But my daughter seeing that commercial last night, it spoke to her as a 3-year-old, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of wild, right? So, no, I'm with you, man. I don't think girls need to be invading quote unquote boy sports anymore. Now they have their own, and I think that's important. You know, and there doesn't have to be a crossover. It doesn't. If it does, that's great. That's awesome. And I think,
like, was it cool that a couple years ago when that Vanderbilt, you know, had a female kicker from their soccer team make the extra point to become, that was cool. But like I said, I'm more into driving home the actual women's sports than trying to focus on trying to get females into men's sports.
Well, and I think that we're not going to get political. We're not going to do that. But I think that you look at this and you know, you see that and there's another side to that. And they go, wait a minute. What if they're coming over in our sports, why can't we go over in theirs? And like, you can't have it both ways. So, you know, and I think that we're heading in the direction of, okay, we want girls playing football. We want women playing football. And I think there's listen, I would watch. There's 7 weeks of no football before the UFL starts. So, you know, if you can time it up right, I think it'd be interesting to watch a lot. I mean, we have covered.
It's happened before. I mean, the Pittsburgh Passion existed.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been there and they've tried it. It's not a new idea.
But there's no capital behind it.
Right.
Because everybody's afraid. They always go toe dipping into that water instead of diving head first and really going into it. I mean, we've covered girls flag football. It's phenomenal. It's absolute. I mean, we've covered hundreds of girls flag football games on this network. And, you know, I take pride in knowing that we were one of the first to acknowledge girls playing football and flag football on this network. And we've featured them and had them on our shows, and we've done everything. I'm very proud of the revolution that girls sports has had. And you, my friend, have been the tip of the spear of the media side of it, because you are the high tide that have raised all boats around here. I don't care what anybody says. Like, it's the big production broadcast that you see on another media entity only got more girls on because we had more girls on because you advocated for it.
Right.
End of story. And if anybody wants to negotiate or barter and talk about, no, we did that. False. 100% false. Like we were doing 50 games a month with girls featured, and there was maybe one a year, and now there's more. And it's all because of you, my friend. You were the one that came to me and said, hey, I think we need to feature more girls sports on this network, and I will lead the charge on it. And I will do predominantly all girls sports. And we've done that. And more people have jumped onto that and say, hey, girls sports is kind of awesome. You know, because they actually run the plays sometimes that guys have a tendency to say, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that.
Jack up this 3.
There's a lot of fundamentals in girls sports that you know, if you love the game, that's why you love the game.
Right.
But Great job. Great commercials. I know we went on a tangent there, but when don't we? What else was it? Oh, overall game. I mean, I know you're a Chiefs fan. I know it sucked. 40-22 is the final. It wasn't even as close as that.
No, it wasn't. It was 40-6 with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Eagles put their backups in. The Chiefs got some late touchdowns. Congratulations. Xavier Worthy became like the best rookie wide receiver in Super Bowl history with garbage time. I mean, if you care about that, but
wait, say that again.
Xavier Worthy got more receiving yards than any other rookie in Super Bowl history because he finished with 8 catches, 157 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But it all came in with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, down 40-6. So, I mean, congratulations. That's a LeBron stat. If you watch the Kelsey's podcast, that's a LeBron stat if I've ever heard one. It didn't go our way. Obviously, I think it was one of those games where the Eagles just came and punched, and the Chiefs had no counterpunch. I mean, I liked Mateo's description. Like, we want to punch, we want to take, people want to play until they get punched. I feel like the Chiefs got punched and they kind of backed off as soon as they got punched the first time they got hit. So it was one of those games where the offensive line just gave our offense no chance. And our defense was so focused on Saquon Barkley that they forgot that Jalen Hurts can still throw the ball every now and then, and he can run. So congratulations. We held Barkley under 60 yards on 25 carries, but what'd that get us? A whole lot of nothing.
Runners up. But you look at, bigger, faster, stronger, right? You look at what the Eagles were and what the Chiefs were not. And you and I remember years ago when this whole thing started and you were talking about potential dynasty, and there's a couple other people talking about potential dynasty and how good this team could be. With the salary cap being what it is, it's always going to present problems. And it doesn't matter if your quarterback says, I'm going to give up, we're going to restructure a contract, whatever it was, because Mahomes went and signed that big deal, which was huge at the time, which is now kind of average, and you look at that and you go, okay, well, you've got to put all that money into the quarterback. But the Eagles are going to have that same problem because Sweat and somebody else who was a big factor at Williams, I think, are now unrestricted free agents.
Right.
And to have their biggest night of the year during the biggest game of the year,
they're going to go to that front office and be like, I want some bags.
So it's going to cost the Eagles, or it's going to cost the Eagles either way. Let's put it that way. And that's kind of what we discussed a couple years ago, because age is a factor too. And nobody ever beats Father Time other than Tom Brady. And you look at what he did, and quarterbacks are playing longer than ever because they're more protected than ever. But the familiar faces around them are leaving because the game's more physical than it's ever been. And you just can't keep up. And even though the workload for a Travis Kelce might be a little bit lighter nowadays from a knowledge standpoint, because he's been there, done that, he's going to have to put himself in an ice bath. He's going to have to get millions of dollars in therapy and all of that stuff just to stay as loose as he was and as effective. And I think we saw last night, Anthony, and I don't want to, I don't know. I hate trying to force people into retirement or say that you don't have anything left, because I would hate if someone said that about me.
Right.
But man, I don't know that Travis Kelce's effective anymore in that offense.
I mean, I don't know how to judge the offense last night, because when you have 2 seconds to throw the ball, what are you gonna do? I mean, it was the Tampa Super Bowl all over again, where Mahomes just had to run for his life and try to find somebody somewhere. And Travis Kelce didn't have a good game in that game either. So, I mean, he just played really well in the division round, like 3-4 weeks ago. I feel like Travis Kelce is at a point when he kind of cruise controls for the regular season and then tries to turn it on in the playoffs. And he also just attracts a lot of attention and gets other people open, and that's kind of his role. But I feel like I don't think he's going to retire this year. I feel like the competitor in him is not going to be like, I'm going to go out on that note. I feel like he's going to be like, you know what? I can't go out getting steamrolled in a Super Bowl. I feel like he's going to come back for at least a year, even though a lot of reports are trying to say, he's done. He's going to retire. I feel like listening to him in his podcast, where I think he's being pretty genuine in that podcast, saying that, I still feel like I can play. I want to play for at least a couple more years in Kansas City. I hope so, because he's been fun to watch. But if he does retire, you gotta keep going on. We have Noah Gray, who I think is a good guy that he's learned from a lot. And I feel like Kansas City, I feel like this one hurts less than the Tampa Bay one, because the Tampa Bay one, we just won our first Super Bowl. We got back to another one. We were high flying, had Tyreek Hill. No one can stop us. And then we get really just a gut punch. Tampa Bay beats us 31-9. We don't even score a touchdown. This one is like, okay, you're not going to win them all, but like, do you think that the Chiefs aren't the favorite in the AFC next year again? Because no one in the AFC has proven they can beat them in the playoffs over the last 7 years. So they're going to be in contention. They're going to be in the conversation. I'm not going to say they're guaranteed to get back to the Super Bowl, but they're going to be in the conversation. They're going to be in the contention. I'd bet my house they go to the playoffs, as long as they stay healthy.
It's not your house.
I bet the house.
Mama Hartwig is going to be mad if you lose that house because the Chiefs don't make the playoffs.
So
don't bet the house, Anthony. I learned that.
You get there and you try to get the AFC Championship, and then you let the dice fall where they may. But I don't think it hurts any of the storylines around the Chiefs because they lost the Super Bowl and they went to 3 of the last 5. They're 3-2 in those 5 Super Bowls they went to, 5 of the last 7. I mean, you keep trying to get back. You hope that you don't have to wait 10 years like Tom Brady did to get back to another one, but that's just the reality of football. Like, you keep trying to get in the conversation. I think all those years Brady was either winning the division. He won the division all the years, so he definitely went to the playoffs, and he was usually in the AFC Championship. You keep trying to get back to that level, and you see where you can go.
I think the biggest thing was the biggest takeaway I've seen, because I like excuse me, I like listening and watching the fallout, because the media has become so just exaggerated with, the Chiefs, this is over. Like, this is it for them. They were embarrassed on the world's biggest stage. And do I think that it's over? That I don't know, because I have mixed feelings. Like, I do feel like the Chiefs' prime is over. And I say that as a whole unit, not Patrick Mahomes. He's 29. He's got a long way to go, and they protect him as they should, because he's the face of right now. He's the face of the league. But what I will tell you is, I feel like everybody else is getting better and getting closer. And I think they saw the blueprint last night for how to beat the Chiefs.
That's the word. Like, Tampa Bay gave the blueprint, and it didn't work. Still got the 3 more Super Bowls after that. The blueprint's there. Blueprint's there. The blueprint is get to him without blitzing, but not a lot of teams can do that.
No, but I also think that the AFC's defense is worse than the NFC's defense as a whole. And I think AFC's offense is better than the AFC's offense is better than the NFC's offense as a whole. So it's kind of like, you look at what the Eagles had. Just you saw the stat about their offensive line. And
their offensive line was huge.
Average 6'6", 338 pounds or something like that. And
they still can run on us.
It was patched. Well, that's great, but they threw on you. So that was the whole thing, was they had the guys to do it. They had the more talented roster against the Chiefs. And you look at what is happening and the whispers and the rumors and the rumor mills that are going on right now. And there's a lot of teams that are looking at the Cleveland Browns and saying, gee, if we had another defensive end or an edge rusher like a Myles Garrett that we could pull in, we could probably contend with the Kansas City Chiefs. And there's one team that I heard of all weekend about their interest in Myles Garrett, and that was the Buffalo Bills. And oh buddy. I mean, and they're having players restructure their contracts all of a sudden. And what would you think they're just doing that for fun?
I feel like the Browns aren't going to trade him inside the AFC. I think they're going to find an NFC team. I actually wouldn't be shocked if one of those defensive linemen leave for the Eagles and they trade him to the Eagles.
I don't think so. I think that
because
the Browns are going to have to trade him where they get the most value back. This isn't a, hey, Miles, thanks for your support here. Thanks for all you've done for Cleveland. We're gonna put you on a championship team. We're gonna send you to Kansas City. We're gonna send you to Detroit. No. This is gonna be,
Buffalo.
hey, we get 2 firsts back and a primetime player that can help us right now, either sell tickets or essentially make us better.
So who does Buffalo give up for Myles Garrett?
Draft picks. I think they're in a situation where they can give up draft picks. I'm sure they do. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just guessing. Like, how far are the Buffalo Bills from being AFC champions?
Gotten close a couple of times, but they just haven't been able to make that play to beat Kansas City yet.
Right. So, and then, oh, by the way, and I don't think this will happen. I think if this happens, Cleveland will burn down. Trading Myles Garrett to the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
I think that's a long shot. The only longer shot would be him going to Pittsburgh. But, I think that, and Cincinnati's not too far off if they can keep their receivers. But again, I think the Eagles are going to have trouble keeping their guys. They have some key free agents. They're going to lose their offensive coordinator, from what it sounds like, in Kellen Moore to New Orleans Saints as their head coach. Mm-hmm. And I know I know you're in defense mode right now, and the sky isn't falling necessarily.
The sky's not falling. I mean, I spent all night looking at Twitter, and the Kansas City Twitter people I follow act like, well, the sky's falling. I'm like, guys, like, I think the Chiefs are okay. Like, I think they're going to be. You still have to go into next season saying they're favorites in the AFC.
No, you don't,
in my opinion, because no one's proven in the AFC they can beat them yet.
Well, I know I saw the one.
You're always saying prove it, right? Prove you can beat them. They haven't yet.
Well, that's great. It's a motivational quote, right? They can put that on their wall. But at the end of the day, you look at what you're going to lose. And I don't know if Travis Kelce comes out today and says, hey, guys, thanks, appreciate it, I'm out. What does that do to your psyche? Because now you've got to go replace a tight end. Oh, probably a Hall of Fame tight end too. That has led the way. And you said he impacted that divisional round game. And
he did.
Can Noah Gray step up in that? And this is where years ago I told you you're going to be at this point right now. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be after a Super Bowl loss. I thought maybe another team would catch up faster. And again, I don't know that the Bills are that far off. I think they're the closest gator to the boat. But I think the Ravens can be there. I think there's a couple other teams in the AFC that are going to be contenders with a couple moves.
I think the Broncos are dangerous a little bit.
Well, that's even more dangerous in your own division.
Yeah, I know. I think the Broncos, because they have a good pass rush. We beat them twice this year, but it wasn't like we didn't dominate anybody this year. But Bo Nix is like confident as a rookie. I'm excited to see what he does in his second year, because you always want to try to stay away from that sophomore slump. But in our own division, I know everyone likes Justin Herbert. He seems like the Phillip Rivers 2.0 to me. But I'm more scared of the Broncos in that division than I am of the Chargers.
Buddy, let me tell you something. That division's going to be something special. It really is. You got Pete Carroll now in Las Vegas. You got guys that are actually knowing what they're doing in Las Vegas. You got a new GM. I mean, it could get dangerous real quick. And I know there's a lot of rumors about Russ Wilson. They're going to bring somebody in and probably someone who already knows Pete Carroll. Hint, hint. And I'm not saying that just because I want him out of Pittsburgh. But I think that there's a rapport there. I know that they kind of had a falling out, but now they've kind of mended fences a little bit.
I like Mike.
What do you say?
Broncos did get blown out in Super Bowl 49. Came back in 50. Won it.
I'm sure.
We got blown out by Tampa. We came back, got to 3 more.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if it's there. I mean,
you're just
I
you're
hope
hoping
it is. But like
All of America's hoping.
That's why you got to cherish those Super Bowls.
You do.
Man.
That's why like it's hard to be mad because you look at the fandom and you're like, well, I just got to watch my team play in 3 straight Super Bowls. So, and win 2 of them and win another one a couple of years ago. It's like, yeah, it sucks that we lost this, but like, you got to treasure the fact that you got to watch your team do that. You know, you got to know that you had fun watching your team.
All the Browns fans are cussing you out
do
right
this.
now.
So,
like,
because being a fan's all about having fun watching your team, you know, and that's what it's about. Like the Royals went to the playoffs last year. That was fun. They didn't win the World Series. They didn't win. They didn't even get to the championship series. They lost in the division series to the Yankees, but it was fun to watch your team it's fun to watch your team succeed.
But I keep hitting this microphone. Like it's
okay. You're pulling a Justin Jefferson. It's all good.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Run back to prompter. But it's different, I guess, when you're expected to win those championships, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there, you could tell that there was a confidence in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Right. And
Absolutely.
there was a nervousness in Philadelphia because they were the underdogs technically, but Kansas City, hey, we've been there, we've done it, we did it 2 years ago to the Eagles. We're going to do it again, and you know everybody it'll turn again. It's going to be the end. Like the Chiefs are the bad guys now, right? Just like the Patriots were, just like the Steelers were. I mean, you can go all the way back. 49ers, the Cowboys, all of them. You know, you can go back the whole way. If our country gets too much of something, we turn on it. It's Hulk Hogan to the NWO is what it turns into. Right. But I think the Chiefs could embrace being the bad guy. I feel like I saw that later stages of the year, especially when it was the refs and, you know, all that stuff. Patrick Mahomes is so smooth with that. But if he did a heel turn, which I know would probably hurt him for all his commercials, if he did a heel turn and said, hey, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to go out and we're going to win all these championships. And I don't care. Because Brady did that in his career. He just embraced being the most hated person. And so people were just like, all right, he's the best. All right, Tom, we give in. White flag. That's it. That's over. You know, and then we embraced him on his way out. And now we embrace him. Well, most people love him in the booth. I do.
I thought he did really good.
I think it doesn't matter who's in the booth for those games. There's going to be so much hate. Just so like halftime, dude. Oh my goodness.
I think Greg Olsen was this a little bit better, but he's more seasoned because he's done it for a little bit longer. So I was like, when Tom Brady got that job, I was like, I'm going to miss Greg Olsen with Kevin Burkhardt because I thought those two did really well in their Super Bowl against with 57 when they got to call it. So I do think Greg Olsen is a little bit better, but I think with everything, broadcasting takes reps. And we saw that from Tom Brady's first game to where he was in the Super Bowl. And if you don't think that Tom Brady's going to work to get better at everything he does, including broadcasting, I expect he'll probably be better next year because he'll probably ask a lot of people that he respects in the broadcasting industry, hey, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What can I improve on? Et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that I think he has to improve on, and your buddy Dave Portnoy pointed it out, getting to break.
I still listen. I
still struggle with that. So.
I'm the worst at it. It is so hard because you have so many things going in through your mind that you want to get out there before you go to a break. And most breaks are 15, 30, 1 minute, right? That's essentially what, and those breaks are 2 minutes long total, but the commercials are 15, 30 or a minute. And I'll tell you what, man, like people don't realize how hard it is, especially, and I don't want to say it's harder for us to do it, but like we're doing all of this stuff and then we go to a break or we segue into something else. Segues are challenging to do. Once you get it, it's a little bit easier. But, you know, Dave Portnoy pointed out last night, dude, you've been doing this all season. You got to get to a break. I think it'd be a little bit different if we were getting paid $30 million a year to do what we do. I'd probably get to break a lot easier, a lot faster. But it's like, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like Tom Brady did an excellent job last night. You know, Kevin Burkhardt had a couple errors as well.
Some people were mad that he drew back on his experience so much, like with the Patriots. I loved it because he can talk from both sides. He's lost a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. He can tell you how the Chiefs feel. he can tell you how the Eagles feel because he's been on both sides of that coin.
So answer, and I saw that as well. Answer me this, because I almost posted right below. If you don't have Tom Brady to shine a light on his past experience, why the hell do you have Tom Brady?
Right.
Well, he looks good in the well, you're watching the game. Like he's not even on but 3 or 4 times a game. And even then I felt it was a little bit forced last night. Like I my mind works a little bit different because when they went to the booth, the only thing I look at Tom, I look at what he's wearing, because if you notice, he pulled up his sleeve to reveal a watch, which I'm guessing you'll see Tom Brady in a watch ad sometime in the next 6 to 12 months. But excuse me, I also saw the digital background that they had.
Yeah,
which
Bourbon
was
Street.
Like Fox, what are we doing?
It's
with
funny that they tried so
background?
hard for that, and then they went with the simplistic, clean
Fox.
lower third.
Yeah, which I loved, and a lot of people loved.
It's like they spent so much money on the digital background that they was like, let's just put something back there that's simple and easy.
Why?
Which might have worked out in their favor.
And this is what I battle all the time, right? Because we background. Like you and I have talked about your background. I had like this isn't where I want it to be, but it's your background has to be attractive because people are going to sit there and look and be like, "Oh, what is that? What is that? What is that?" And I caught myself immediately going, "Why do they have them set up on Bourbon Street if they're standing in a booth and everybody knows they're standing in a booth uncomfortably, right? Because those guys are sitting a lot of times, or they're standing in front of a giant window looking down on the game.
Right.
So if you're going to the booth, what I love is NBC, when they go to the booth, they have scores up at the top because there's still something visually appealing to you. And then they usually have the 2 teams, or they'll have the peacock or whatever it may be behind them that's moving or changing. And I understand this is a Super Bowl. I understand this is the biggest game of the year for any sport. Other than perhaps WrestleMania. But like I felt like someone's 8-year-old put that together in Photoshop and was like, "Here you go, Dad." And Fox is like, "This is great.
This is great."
I mean, it just, and I know I'm probably diving too deep into this, but like if you're going to spend that much money and you're getting $8 million in advertisement for 4 hours and 15 minutes of action, and there were a lot of breaks in there, a couple that were forced in there. And this is coming from a guy that loves forcing in ad breaks during his spots. And I felt like they just cheaped out on that. Or it was just, I don't know, forced. There was a lot of different things going on. I'm just, man, overall production was great. I really thought it was great. I'm glad that they really try to, Fox especially tries to overuse that spider cam up top. Didn't do that.
Didn't do it.
They had a lot of the celebrity cams going on, which you have to do and showcase, this is our game is international and everybody loves it. And, everybody loves, I get what they're trying to do, but man alive, there were some things that I'm just like, okay, why are they pushing this so hard? Like they, I think 4 or 5 times went to Brady and Burkhardt, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But it was crazy. I will say this. And I will not apologize about it. You know what channel Super Bowl 60 is going to be on? Bing, bing, bing.
Oh, it's going back to NBC?
Awesome. NBC, baby. Channel 21 WFMJ will have Super Bowl 60. It's never too early to think about it.
It's going to be what, Tirico and Collinsworth, probably.
Most likely, which I've gone from absolutely despising Chris Collinsworth to I enjoy when he commentates.
I'm in the minority. I enjoy Tony Romo because he's just like he feels like he's a fan. He feels like he's a fan watching the game, just enjoying it with you. To me, which I kind of like.
Sounds like he's going to the bathroom all the time.
I don't know, Jim.
Jim, I don't know about this, Jim. And I love Jim Nance.
Jim Nance is cool.
And I loved. I think they pulled the reins back on Romo though.
They did.
When he had his Romo Stradamus or whatever. I loved it because when he says, "Hey, look at this," and I'm like, "Oh, look, there it is." He called it. I want that, but I think the NFL and CBS probably said,
It's not.
we want these people to develop their own ideas and habits, and it didn't work out.
And in that year where he was clearly not prepared for these games, they probably had a tough conversation with him then too. We're like, hey, you need to actually work for this job. And I think this year he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody else, whenever your team loses, it's the announcer's fault, right? So
how dare you, Tom Brady? You talked way too much about the Eagles.
What is he supposed to talk about? I mean, people don't realize how. I mean,
the one thing I laughed because
it was like
it was 34-6 in the third, and he's like, "It's not over yet."
Well, yeah, and you were the first person I thought about,
and I was like, "Oh, it's kind of over, Tom."
You and I have to, and I think I posted on your thing. Like
you did.
He's
keeping to sell the
people there for the commercials, but like you and I understand what he's trying to do.
Yes,
but people that have never broadcasted before are sitting there like, "Shut up, Tom! Shut up! I'm sorry, this Tom. It's over, Tom." Like, what is he supposed to do? Hey guys, change the channel. This one's all over.
One's all done. Get out.
and it came after, right? It came after the Devontae Smith touchdown, which Burkhardt goes, dagger. I'm like, uh-oh.
That 50-yard bomb.
And that was with like 8 minutes left.
It's a heck of a play call, man. Everyone they called it. Everyone in the building thought they were going to run that ball. That was a heck of a play call.
Greg Olsen is underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, see, I think Greg Olsen was actually really, really good in his Super Bowl that he got to call.
I don't think he's bad. I don't think there's many bad announcers out there. I think that, and you know how I feel about people talking in the booth. Like, I think in this setting, like talking over and going, battling a little bit and jabbing is fine. But like in the booth, it's like religion. This is where you start. This is where you stop. This is where you start. This is where you stop. In the booth, the more hectic and chaotic that booth gets, the worse the broadcast is going to be. The more people are going to be confused and frustrated, and they're going to not like the announcers. Well, Tony Romo loves talking over Jim Nantz, and I think Jim Nantz is one of the best to do it. Especially when it comes to golf, but football, I think he's one of the best. I think there was guys growing up that I really, really enjoyed that I wish they were still around. Football at NBC was incredible. Was it Everhart, or I forget who it was. He was when I think about football, I think about him. That's why
before Al Michaels got all curmudgeonly, he was really good. When he was when he was Monday Night Football,
he was great.
One of his iconic calls when Antonio Freeman made that catch off his back or whatever, he did what? When he was having fun. Now he's just like so angry. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think you get like that.
Yeah,
because you just don't want to do it anymore, but you have bills to pay. And it's
yeah,
it is what it is. Like,
and they put him with Kurt Herbstreit, who's kind of like spreading himself a little thin. I think he should have stayed in college a little bit because it's hard to be like college, NFL, college, NFL, college, NFL.
I think he does an all right job. I think that especially this time of year is his sweet spot, because he's going to be able to tell you who's going to be a good playmaker at the next level.
Right.
And I think that's what Amazon has really bought into is, hey, he's going to be able to pick out who's going to be good, moving forward. Because let's face it, a lot of those Thursday night games are stinkers. They are just rough. Kevin Harlan, that's a good one. One of Ty's personal favorites. I think the Eagles, not the team, the duo, the father-son duo, incredible. I was a big Gus Johnson guy for a long time.
I agree with Ty. I like Kevin Harlan. I kind of grew up with Kevin Harlan because he was the radio voice for the Chiefs in the early 90s. So like a lot of the highlights that I used to watch as a kid were all Kevin Harlan calls. Yeah. And that kind of made, and then he's obviously gone on to be one of the best NBA announcers that you can get. He's really good at basketball, calls football well on the radio. He's a good radio guy.
Well, and usually radio guys are the best play-by-play because they can just paint the picture for you because there's no picture there. You know, a lot of times, you know, we tell our announcers, hey, just rely on the picture if you don't know what to say. You know, one thing I thought was interesting, I don't know how much of the post game you watched. You were probably sick of it.
No, I stayed and watched. One time I wanted to see what the Chiefs said, and that always comes second.
Yeah.
But I stayed and watched. I liked, you know.
So they were interviewing Brandon Graham after, and you know what that ESPN calls their preparation for their announcers every year?
No.
Broadcast boot camp.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. Because that's what we used to. Now we call it the academy, but a little bit more military in that. But boot camp just seemed like we were bootlegging everything. But it was
the pyramid. I remember the pyramid.
Oh my gosh. Oh, if you only knew. But you know, there was a couple things like Terry Bradshaw, I thought was kind of rough around the edges last night. In the post game, you know, I know they were doing. You never want to give up your microphone. That's rule number one in broadcasting is don't give up the microphone. And everybody just wants to like grab onto it whenever they're talking. And the Eagles owner did that, and Terry was like right on the show. He's like, I'm not giving you this microphone. I'm not.
I think they were also kind of talk. I think they didn't know they were live. They were. Yep. I heard talk while they were still. You could
hear it in the background.
Yep, I could hear it.
I heard Tom Brady in the background, which I thought was weird, or what I thought was Tom Brady, because he's like, I told you after the break, or I told you after the ceremony. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, it's like, who was that? But they had a lot of that yesterday. I mean, some of that.
When you're
8.5 hours on
when your
NFL
network is on the air, when your network's on the air from 1 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you're gonna probably make a few mistakes here and there.
I almost texted you about it, and mostly this is kind of the real talk that people don't get to see with you and I, which is I think sometimes people appreciate it. I saw it was Saquon, Cooper DeJean, by the way. Who told you about Cooper DeJean?
Birthday.
Both of their birthdays. And then it was Jalen Hurts. We're all sitting at the ESPN table, and it was Boomer, Booger, and Alex Smith. Booger. And they brought out a birthday cake. And I was like, this is a mistake. This is a mistake number one, because Booger, although he is on ESPN, and I'm sure he's, you know, well, I'll just leave it there. He's on ESPN. The dude just sat there and ate cake the entire interview. He's just, and he got the first piece of cake. It's not your birthday, Booger. Back it up, Chuck. Like, what are you doing? Like, that dude just played in a football game. He just got his ass kicked, you know. And then the other guy is a 22-year-old who just had first interception in the NFL is a pick six. In the Super Bowl.
On his birthday.
Give him the cake. Dang cake. They get the first piece, Booger. And then they're trying to interview Cooper DeJean. And Berman is cutting his cake and just talking all over him. Just like, oh, do we have plates? I was like, it reminded me so much of a guy that used to work here that doesn't anymore. And I was like, oh, it's that era. It's that era of people.
Yeah, the pizza box open live on the air.
and then you turn on after halftime. I know you did the same thing that I did. You fired up your social media
just to watch.
And what are people talking about?
Yep.
The halftime show.
Every year, everyone's like, that was the worst halftime show I've ever seen. Well, okay, if every year's the worst, then just at that point, stop watching halftime shows, buddy.
Isn't the Puppy Bowl on or something at halftime?
Yeah, like, look, I'm not a Kendrick Lamar fan, so it wasn't aimed towards me, but I think everything else, the production value, everything they go for that halftime show was on point, and I will acknowledge that Kendrick Lamar is pretty dang talented, and there's a reason that he's won a lot of Grammys, and he was, top 100 most influential people in time this year, because he's a very talented artist, and he does a lot with what he has been gifted. I'm just not a biggest fan of his content per se, so I stay away from his music. But I think everything that, production value, everything that he did in the halftime show, I thought was really good.
See, I was the other way. I thought, like, I have been a Kendrick Lamar fan from the days that he did a remix with the Imagine Dragons. That's where I found out about Kendrick Lamar. I think it was at the Grammys, if I'm not mistaken. They did a Radioactive remix, and I've liked him. I don't follow him closely, but it's like he always has like the good beats and stuff like that. And I was like, man, the production kind of stinks right now because his vocals weren't very high, or at least it wasn't coming across on my television. So I was like, all right, throwing on the closed caption, that guy had no shot. Whoever's sitting there just madly typing.
And then he had to because Kendrick Lamar has to take pauses for his swear words. So he's like, he just paused there. I don't know what he's supposed to say.
Oh, dude, I was dying because I know some of it, like that beef that he got into with Drake. I've heard those songs and not necessarily with people around me. Usually that's I'm going to turn that on and see if I can actually play this, even at a low, when the kids are in the car. The answer is no, by the way. But, dude, whoever, and I don't know how closed caption works. I'll be the first to admit that. But in my head, there's some guy or gal that is hammering keys, right? And just like whatever she or he hears, like they were like 120 words a minute on Mavis Beacon growing up. So like, if you don't know what Mavis Beacon is, then Google it.
Google it. Like everything.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like watching this closed caption. It's like inaudible. And then it was like 3 words, inaudible, 3 words. And then it was just like a bunch of words and like wasn't spelled right. Nothing. I was dying laughing. I'm sitting there like, this is as entertaining a halftime show as I've ever seen before. Because
did you catch the end too? That obviously there's the delay ever since what happened with Janet Jackson. I think he dropped an F word. They bleeped it because they were tape delayed. But he was trying to stay away from his swearing. He was trying to pause every time. But I think like towards the very end while he was walking off, I think he actually dropped the F word probably. And
I didn't see. I saw him turn around and because there's like a thing where he says, "Hey Drake" or whatever.
Yeah, because I heard the bleep and I was like, "Oh, I bet he just dropped one."
Well, I mean, how about this is how much people don't care anymore. I was watching the NFL Network before, not to go down another path, but like Marshawn Lynch is on the pregame show, and every time Marshawn's on, my wife goes, "Red alert!" Like Z and Bella are not allowed to be in the room. But she laughs so hard because she comes down and everybody's in like their designer suits. She came upstairs. We were getting dinner ready, and she came upstairs and she's like, "Marshawn's down there in sweatpants." I was like, "There he is. That's Marshawn Lynch." And then sure enough, I went downstairs and he's just dropping whatever he wants on national syndicated television. I'm just like, come on, guys. And then I love Nick Sirianni, Mount Union guy. He's a local guy. I mean, I know he's from Western New York or whatever, but he goes up and he's, let's run this, back. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Can't say, I guess you can say it after 10 p.m. technically, but
yeah,
like I want to thank Jesus. And I love that, right? I want to thank our Lord and Savior, but we're going to run this. I was like, whoa, hard left turn there, Nick. Hard left turn. Like, because every dad in America or mom in America is like, yes, that's awesome. Oh my God. Like,
come here.
It was awesome. Like but we live,
when you're at that moment, I don't think you even have the time to process what you're saying.
He knew. He knew what he's doing because he did it 3 more times on every single interview he was in. And I was like, dude, find another word for it. Like, if you're going to be that guy, and listen, as someone who swears and tries to cover it a lot, when we do what we do, you just have to be yourself. And I think that, I've not to get religious on anybody, but like, you're not hiding it from God. You're not hiding it from anybody that's already up in heaven. Like they're seeing you, in my personal opinion. But it is what it is. I just thought it was comical because you can try to put lipstick on a pig, but in those moments, dude, you're in them. What is that?
Oh, absolutely.
Whatever. We don't want that. What else was I going to ask you before we wrapped up the show? I still keep going back. to Coach Mateo, man. He's got me fired up. I'm ready to go. Ready to go. What a great interview he did.
Right.
Great interview. Senior night tonight in South Range. CC Foster will be the lone senior being shined a light on. And, you know, we have a great relationship with the Fosters. We have for a long time. So excited, so proud of CC, so proud of the Fosters. I know this is a special night for her. Undecided, 100%. As far as I know, undecided on if she's going to do a spring sport or just kind of be a student and support her friends. But if this is the last go for CC Foster, proud of her. You know, she's had a adverse ride, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything that she and the family's gone through and all that, and to keep coming out and throwing up threes and you know, trying to be a leader. And you know, we've said it a lot, you know, some of these seniors that are leaders that aren't necessarily the ones that are going to fill up the stat sheet, but they're the ones that are consistent in showing up and supporting. And hey, if you need a ride, I'll come pick you up. And you know, that's what high school sports is all about. And you know, hearing Nick Sirianni, and this is what we're doing, segue tie, right? Hearing Nick Sirianni talk about a love for your team. That was kind of what got me going last night and thinking about our team here at YSN, but certainly thinking about seniors that are on their way out. CC being the gator closest to the boat, so to speak. You know, it's so cool to see these professionals be about the team, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times while they're young, it is about championships and what can we do together and how do we do it. And you know, we've got to make that next step to win a championship, because guess what? When you win a championship, you're a lot more valuable, whether you're the first person on that roster or the 54th person on that roster. And everybody wants to win together, because if they win together, like the Eagles did last night, like the Chiefs have done many times before, guess what? They're going to get paid. The influence factor builds up. And I think these student athletes follow, and so many times we talk about that, they follow in the footsteps of what they see on television. If you saw nothing last night that you liked, I implore you, go watch the interview where Nick Sirianni talks about the most important thing about sports, about being on a team, about being in a family, about being in a community, is loving each other, because that's where the magic happens. If you're willing to give up everything you have because you love somebody so much that you want to see them succeed, because seeing somebody else succeed does not mean that you failed. Just means that you're a great teammate. Means that you're a person that is a leader at the end of the day. And you know, it's so cool to see that in our communities, and we see it more often than not, and we don't have a chance to really point a finger to it. But man, to see it on such a big stage, that's the stuff you hope filters down, and not the hate of, I don't understand this halftime show. There needs to be, some of those things that I saw on Facebook last night. I'm like, and that's going to be a good halftime show? You know what I mean? Like we missed the point. We missed the point again. But yeah, man, the team, to love somebody enough to want to be great for them and not yourself. That's sports. That's why sports are so great. They're so incredible. And how stupid is our life that we get to do this every day?
Every day.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Are we waiting for an interview here?
No, I got one, you know, whenever we get off.
Gotcha.
I just felt like we were about to get off. So I was like, I'll meet you at your link. I gave her both. And I was like, if we're still on, you can come on. But I felt like we were rounding up. So I was like, I'll just meet you at yours. So
got it. I'm sorry. Well, I'm keeping you. I thought we were waiting. All right. We are, it's time for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by Joe Dickey Electric. They are everything electrical. You can visit them on the web 24/7, 365 at DickeyElectric.com. All right, Twiggy, what's your spark?
My spark is that it was opening weekend for softball, which is my favorite season of the year. And we have a lot of former YSN athletes that kind of either started their collegiate career or started another year of their collegiate career on a softball program. And I want to wish everyone out there that we covered, or everyone out there that I'm friends with that is in the softball community, the best of luck this year, whether you're a coach or a player out there. I can't wait to see you guys succeed out there. Yeah, that's my spark. Let's go softball.
Let's go softball. That's kind of my spark as well, because it is baseball and softball season, technically. Spring training is about to report. We are finishing up the basketball season from a girls and boys perspective, the wrestling season as well. We'll conclude. We'll talk to Gary Altizer on Wednesday and talk to him about obviously the Buck Bailey was a huge success. And we'll talk to him about what things athletes will do this time of year to get ready for the tournament process, not just in wrestling, but all over. But mine, I cannot wait to go to Myrtle Beach. I cannot wait. We always follow the teams down there going to Myrtle Beach. I know we have a kind of short staff down there this year, Ant. We're going to try to get you down in the years to come. But obviously your health is first and foremost, and we don't need you getting sick down there at all. We need you holding the fort down. It's going to be a late jump this year down to Myrtle Beach. I think it's Easter's late this year. It's like
April 20th is Easter. So
yeah, so we'll be down there like the 18th through that next week. Excited for that, and excited to follow the teams down there. South Range, typically it's Canfield, Fitch. Ty's going to be coming down to cover as much as he possibly can, and then we'll be back. And next thing you know, we'll be talking about
tournament time.
No, we'll be talking about football. You know how this goes. You know how this goes, man. We're going to be talking about football in June. Sam Torres will lead that charge, I'm sure. Tip of the spear when it comes to that stuff. But thank you for tuning in, Ant. Great job. Sorry the team lost, man, but it happens.
Hey,
there's always next year, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Congratulations. Orange Hockey winning the Barron Cup, the D3 championship game yesterday. Last time they won it was 2020. And then before that, 2006, I want to say. I think I'm right on that. Tim Porter, the GOAT.
Love you, buddy.
We love you a lot. Thanks for giving us the exclusive. And we're going to try to get some Orange hockey players. Hopefully the captain's on this week. A lot of interviews this week right here on YSN Live. Stay with us. We love you. Appreciate you. Stay safe, stay warm, and stay locked on to ysnlive.com. For Anthony, I'm DJ. We'll see you tomorrow, noon, right here, YSN.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of your sports network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.